Life is messy and unpredictable.
Being able to find joy in the weeds of life is so important. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kim, and we are so glad you've joined us as we figure out how to hold joy in one hand and struggle in the other.
Welcome to Joy in the Weeds. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited. First of all, if you are one of our faithful listeners, you know we missed this.
But we're not going to shame anybody. We're just going to say
No.
that life happened.
Life happened. Yeah, it's been interesting. So, but we are super excited to have
Yes, very much.
Angela with us today. If you are
Yay!
watching, you get to see her beautiful face. But if you're listening, I think you'll enjoy this too. So, first of all, hello, welcome Angela, welcome Kim.
Hey, lady. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy to be here. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Good, me too.
Yeah, we are. So I just have to share the first time I met Angela was at church. And I was teaching a class, and Angela and her husband came in, and Angela spoke virtually no English. Is that correct to say?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Like 4 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe 5 years ago.
Look at you. Wow. That's so cool.
So what's really, I think, just amazing, and this is no disrespect to your amazing husband, who is amazing, but they came into class and he would translate for her and try to kind of keep her, abreast of what was going on. And now, like, she's doing the same for him.
Wow.
Angela is just amazing. She is a force to be reckoned with. Highly intelligent, super fun,
and 100% delightful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, lady.
So delightful. At the women's retreat where I met you for the first time, I think, we just had a late night conversation. It was so nice. It was just ladies being together, and it was really neat. I enjoyed it.
I really enjoy it too.
Yeah.
It was funny because Beth said you will love Kim, and I never met you before. And when I met you, it was like, you were right. I love her.
I love you too.
I just have a knack for when I think people are gonna like each other. So Angela is Angela, you do a lot of like online content, right? Or you have. And I've, unfortunately, because I'm not nearly as good as Angela is at another language, have not been able to participate in it as much as I would like. But so you do a lot of content online. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about your family, and tell us about some of the things you enjoy doing.
Okay. Well, yeah, I haven't been doing much content lately, but I work with a ministry that is called Radio Viene, which is Radio He's Coming, would be the translation.
Cool.
Okay. So it's like a virtual ministry, like youth ministry. So we are young adults, pretty much ministering several parts of the world. So we work with people in Chile, in Ecuador, in Dominican Republic. So they invite us, and we have the whole program via Zoom, and we preach, we sing, we talk, we have conversations, and sometimes we are invited to be guest speakers in podcast. All the content is in Spanish though, but yeah, we were working a lot, mostly during the pandemic time. I used to do blogging, like Christian normal life kind of thing, blogging in Spanish. And this guy came to me and he said, like, I would love for you to be part of the ministry and write articles with for the ministry, and
That's so cool.
we can see from there. So I came and started writing for them, and then we start preaching, and then we start making content. So we were working like a lot during pandemic. We are in a transition now to be an actual radio, but virtual kind of thing. So we are working right now pretty much backstage, recording radio shows and stuff like that. But we are in that transition right now. The website is just with Christian music, and one or two programs already are starting, but we are still working on that, pretty much at this moment.
And our listeners need to know this is not your full-time job. Like you're doing all this on the side, along with being an elder at the church and being a mother and all of those things. So, and working full-time. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say I work Monday through Thursday, but that would be a lie. Because I work with the insurance department. So anytime that something happens
Mm.
to any automobile or to any person, or something happens to a property with the church, because I work for the conference, I need to be ready to make a claim and work with them during the claim process with them.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
So
yeah.
tell us about your family and just some of the fun things you enjoy doing on, like when you're not doing all those other things.
Well, my family, we are Venezuelans. So my husband is he's a delight. So yeah, I love him so much. So yeah, he's an amazing guy. We decided to come here to this country with our three kids.
3 of them.
So we have three of them.
Okay.
Our firstborn is 18 years old at this moment, and the twins, they are two boys. They are 15 years old. So I have pretty much just boys at home, including my husband. So I'm the only girl at home. But yeah, that's those peoples are my life. They're such a joy to have around. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's my thing.
she has 3 of the most amazing boys. They're really wonderful human beings. So what are some fun things you enjoy doing?
I love kayaking. I love hiking, nature, mostly nature related things. I'm in, like, yes, and I'm about to learn golf. That's in my plans because I want to go golfing with Beth. So
Oh, well, there you go.
that's a plan.
You go ahead and enjoy that.
I've been trying to twist her arm, see if she'd do that with me. So
That's funny.
all right. Well, tell us. We wanted to hear about your story, and I know it is quite a story. So go ahead and tell us your story about how you ended up here.
Oh yeah. Oh well, that's it. I just would like to before start. I would like to make clear that even though we are the main character, if you can say, in this story, is not that we are not. God is the main character in our story, in our journey. And before coming to, actually almost 19 years ago, when my husband and I got married, we decided to make a inversion fund, like, for God, like for our decisions or lives, and our marriage would be like in that fund with God. We would separate 10% as the tithes, but just for that purpose, like, God, guide our life, please, show us the way, and be with our marriage. So that's a commitment that we have since 19 years ago. So that being said, we my dad, I need to back up a little bit before coming here, because my dad, he used to be an important person in the small town that I grew up on. So my dad was my dad was a representative from the United Nations for the food side of the country. So he was a very important person in the town that we lived. So that being said, the government, many years after my dad used to do that, he was a professor as well in the biggest university in that town, and he was the general manager of food processor company that there was in that town.
Okay.
So pretty much everywhere I went, it was like, you are the daughter of.
Oh, okay.
So many times that was a burden, but
Mm.
it was because it was like I felt like I needed to behave
Mm-hmm.
certain way because I was being,
Mm-hmm.
observed,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a small town, so pretty much everyone knew my family. So
Mm-hmm.
um I got married with my husband. We moved to another state, and then my brother had an accident, so I came back to that town to help my mom out with my brother because he stayed in bed like for 8 months.
Oh.
So that was a rough time. We came back, but by that time that I came back, I was already. I had my degree. I have a major in biochemistry, and I specialize in the study of cells, the like human cells. So I was working a lot with cancer and research and fungus and everything related with cells. So when I
Wow.
was doing my degree, two of my teachers, they like the way that I was working, and they became sort of my mentors.
Mm.
So another teacher, he guided me to write investigations and research on cancer and malignancies in elderly people. So I went and made with he allowed me to have a team while I was studying in the college, and I had a team, and we did a research in several homes, like elderly people homes. We made a research on the incidence of malignancies oral in oral uh, cavities and stuff like that in elderly people. So we made that research. That was the first research that I did with the university, and then they invited me to do two research more about cancer and diagnostic of cancer. So I love so much that career. So I was thriving. I was just enjoying it. So um, two of my teachers became sort of my mentors. So by the time that I graduated, as soon as I graduated, I started working with them with our own laboratory. They approach me and they say, "Hey, I love how you work. We would like to partner with you to have a laboratory, a private laboratory." So we did that, and we were handling 3 states
Hmm.
in collecting samples and making diagnoses and all that from 3 states. I On the side, I started working in the hospital from my hometown. But after 6 months or so, somebody approached me because sadly, everything in my country is political now. So you
Mm.
have to have political connections to do what you want to do or what you have to do.
Mm.
So they approached me and they wanted me to dress with the government shirt. And I just said that I wouldn't do it. Like I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm wearing my scrubs. I'm not doing that.
Mm.
So they got upset and they fired me. from the hospital.
Wow.
And that was when everything started. They fired me, but we had a location with our own laboratory, and they people like, sadly the people from the government, they have people armed outside their headquarters, so they have people from the suburbs armed, and they can go and harass people in the name of the government. And they did that. They started harassing me. They broke the windows of the laboratory, or they were just passing around in bikes, just shouting things with weapons. So I
So
decided,
were you the only one that was not complying?
no, because of my town. Our town is a small town.
Okay.
The government took over all the private companies and
Okay.
private, like they gave the good to go to the people to just take over the houses that were empty, even though they didn't belong to them. So
Wow.
that was the reality of the country. So my hometown became more political
Mhm.
related, or employment related kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Okay.
So everyone that didn't complain, they were doing something to them. That was when, if you see the records of people just fleeing from Venezuela, it started in
Mm.
2015 because of that,
Okay.
because of the people being harassed and persecuted. And so they start that with me, and they knew who I was because what I mentioned before,
Because of your dad.
because of my dad. So they knew
Wow.
where I live. They
Of
knew
course.
where we had properties, and where the laboratory was. So that made me a target when this stage or this situation began, because they
Wow.
knew who I was.
So what was that like? Because I'm putting myself in your shoes, and I would be scared, and I
Yeah,
would be like on high alert all the time.
yeah,
And is that what it was like for you?
yeah. I always, I always, because of that, and being observed, as I mentioned before, I always was the type of person that I was looking over my shoulder. I
Mm.
I didn't have any rest, if I could say it, because
Wow.
I always was like, this is fishy. Something is happening. I was with my husband, maybe, uh, having food. One day we were having food in one place, and I told him like, this is weird. These people came. They're together here. There are two together here. They are armed. We need to go. And they were robbing the establishment, and they took the weapons out. And it was like, my husband was like, "What's? How you knew about that?" But it
Mm.
was because of that. I was always in alert. Like, something is happening. This is weird. This is not right. It doesn't feel right. And I always was the type of person that I pay attention to my gut.
Uh-huh.
So
100%.
yeah, something
100%.
doesn't feel right. It's
Yes.
so I never had like rest when I was out. But
Wow.
after those situations, they I was working. We had a radio show. My husband and I, we had a radio show, an Adventist radio, and
Mhm.
because it was, our culture is very conservative, Adventist
Mhm.
conservative.
Mhm. Mhm.
We did approach the radio show as just normal conversations, and then
Mm.
at the end we will say something Christian, and call the people to reflect and all that. And after a month being working with the church radio, we got a call from another radio in Bonaire, like in Curacao. So we start working with people from Curacao, from Chile, from Ecuador, doing radio.
Goodness.
So uh, the radio is, they told us that it's supposed to be twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 7. Then when we got that offer from another radio from the town, we start doing like live streaming kind of thing because we couldn't cover all the radios. So we start just transmitting to in order to be with all of them. And we start having the show from Sunday to Friday from 6 to 9. And sometimes it was like the time flew and it was short. We were like, whoa, there were some questions because people start calling and making questions. So when we used to get out of the radio show, it was good until all the situation start happening,
Right.
and they start broken in our window shields. We start being harassed. We
Wow.
start changing vehicles. We start like we would go in one vehicle and another person would pick us up or something like that, changing vehicles in order to not be seen because it was dangerous.
And you
We
had
have
children at this time too.
At this time
You
I
had
had
your
my
children.
children. Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
And one time I was taking them to the school, but it was the only Christian school in that place, and it was I think it was Baptist school.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was a Baptist school, and it was in a hill. But in order to get there, it was like just terrain. It wasn't houses around. So when I was in the way to take them to school, I got approached by people with weapons, saying that I needed to complain, and they had this mindset that every opposition people should die. That was the government was telling them, and they were just repeating. And my kids saw that situation. I got scared, and that day I just went back and I didn't take them to school that day. And then the stuff became more often.
Mhm.
Even my kids at home, they were playing at home inside our fence,
Mhm.
and people would throw rock at them because they knew that we live in that place. It was a private like urbanism, so we had a
Mhm.
gate, but
Mhm.
right behind our house, it was the last one of the
Mm.
of the houses, and right behind that it was like just a terrain, so they would go behind that and throw rocks.
Mm.
And one time one of my kids got hurt because of that, so we were even scared of our kids going out to play.
Wow. Wow.
I can't
So
imagine.
everything became too often too ugly,
Mhm.
to the point that my husband and I, we had a store, kind of home supply, building supply store, kind of Lowe's or something like that. And we had a long time with that store, so people knew us. And
Mhm.
one time, one of the people that used to buy stuff there, he said, "Be careful,
Hmm.
because there's a picture of your husband and your family, and they have the picture of you, and they're looking for you." By they mean the people from the government that were
Yeah.
armed.
Right.
So one time, one of the we were at the votations when you elect a president. They say there's elections, but never changes because we have like 22 years with the same president. So it's like just by name. But we
Right.
Mhm.
went to
Right.
do our duty,
Mhm.
and somebody vote for my husband. When it was his turn to do that, they went ahead and they passed another person. They told him like, wait in here, he's just doing something. But when my husband went with his document to vote, it said
Mhm.
that he already voted because they did all the trap there.
Oh, wow.
So I got upset and I told them like, this is not right, man. This is not right. So I went out because I was upset. I went out and I told my husband, just talk if you want to talk, but this is it, there's nothing that we can do, and they would do anything. So I'm going out. So I step out of school because he was in a school, and I saw one of the people from the army making signs to the people that we knew that they're bad people.
Yeah.
We knew that they were armed. So
Mhm.
I saw him making signs to them, and the guy pointed to my husband, but he didn't know that I was looking all the thing that I was watching, all the thing that was happening. So I got scared. I called my husband by phone and I told him I'd meet you here. So when I met him, we changed. We left his car in that place, and he took my car, and I took another friend's car, and then we went to pick up his car with another friend's and hide it because from there was the time that they said that they had a picture of us um,
Wow.
around there. So the kids became scared. The kids were saying,
Mhm.
"Mom, I don't want you to go out." They would cry
Mhm.
every time I would go out because they were scared.
Mhm.
And we had when we had the news that we were in pictures around, we had to leave that state. So we went to my in-laws for a month and a half, maybe with the hope that everything would cool down.
Mhm.
It didn't. So I went to Ecuador just to pass maybe a few months there with the hope that everything would cool out and everything would know like, well, she left to Ecuador, so there's nothing else to do. That was my hope. When I was in Ecuador, my partners from the laboratory, they were kept like everything kept moving, and they told me that they had a colleague in Ecuador in charge of research in one university in a university. So he was in charge of the research department. So he offered me a job. He was like, I talked to them and I saw your studies. We are interested on you to come here to be part of our team. We would give you home. We will give you vehicles. We will pay you good. By that time, it was like 5,000 a month, and I was like, yeah, that's good for me in Ecuador. Yeah, that's that's a lot of money there. So I came back from Ecuador, and I told my husband, well, let's make plans to go to Ecuador. For me, that was
That was the
the option.
solution.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but my husband told me like we need to pray first. Like
Mm.
we need to make sure that we are going to the place that God wants us to go.
Mm.
So we start praying, and my mind was just yeah, just focus on that. Like yeah, I'm going to pray, but I know that God is going to give me that. I'm
Right.
sure about that.
Surprise.
So, but that same around the same time, we met my husband's cousin. He went from United States to Venezuela to visit, and he said you should come and live in United States. And we were like, no, because
Mm.
for us, United States was our vacation place, but it was
Mm.
never
Mm.
the place that we thought us making living here.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my husband was like, well, let's pray about that. We don't know. And I was like, babe,
I love your husband. I'm so sorry, but I think that's great. We're
and I
not
was
making
like,
decisions. Let's pray about it.
yeah. And I was like, babe, we don't have anything. In the United States, most like your cousin, but we don't have even the language. We don't have the language. We don't
Yeah.
have jobs. We don't I couldn't work there with my career because I would have to study again in order
Right.
to work with my career. So I don't think that's the solution. We need to go to Ecuador. So he proposed like let's pray and let because his visa had expired by that time. My visa it was good still for 8 years, and my kids didn't have visa. So he said, let's pray like if we got the visa approved for less than 5 years, we are going to Ecuador. If we get the visas approved for more than 5 years, we are going to United States.
And so you're talking about a visa to the States.
Yeah, to the
Okay.
States.
Okay.
So, and he said, if the visa doesn't get approved, we are staying here no matter what happens.
Hmm.
So we prayed about it, and the time came. We went to the appointment. I had to go with him because I was representing the kids, so I had to go with him, and he had to go for his renewal and his interview. So we got there. It was like we arrived there 6 a.m. We made it through the four security points by 10 a.m. And when we are in the last security point, waiting to pass that last security point, someone approached my husband and said, "We need another picture, passport picture of you." And we were like, "You have two there. You have like two different," because I love having plans. So I didn't take one of him. We took two.
Funny.
So we were like, "Okay, here's another." "No, we need another. You can take it here." So they had like a small place where they could take the picture, but they wouldn't take ATM cards, any card, like no credit card, no debit card, no card, just cash. And I was like, I never have cash on me, and I had just uh, just maybe the 30%
Hmm.
of the amount that I needed
Mm.
for the picture. But I had the hope. I don't know. I want to know what was I thinking, because when that happened, I turned to my husband like trying to count the money. And I don't know if I had the hope that I would reproduce, because I kept counting and counting and counting. And I was like, no, there's no way. We don't have the money here. So my husband was telling me like, well, I guess I would go out, take the money, and come back through the security points. And I was like, yeah, but if you lose that appointment that is at 11,
Mm.
we have to wait 6 months.
Oh,
So I don't think that's an option. And then at that moment, one guy came right through by my right, and my husband was on my left. So one guy came and he said, "Here you go. Everything is going to be okay." And he gave me the exact amount of money that I was needing. The exact amount.
Wow.
So I told him like, "No, no, no." And he said, "Yes, you
Okay.
need it." And he
Okay,
put
can
it.
we just take a minute? Yeah. That is amazing,
Yeah.
because that was no human.
Yeah. We received the money. I guess I am like Thomas in that sense, because I received the money and I look at my husband and I was like, I cannot receive this. I cannot. When I turned back, I couldn't find the guy.
I'm not surprised.
And and it was at like a waiting room, enclosed waiting room, by the security points back and security point out up front. And it was enclosed in just two restrooms. My husband went to the men's restrooms and he wasn't there. And still I went to the women's restroom because I was like, okay, what if?
Never know.
Exactly. And the guy wasn't there. So we never found that guy. But that phrase that he told me when I tried to find him reassured me that we were doing what we needed to do. Because he said everything is going to be okay. And from that moment on, I was like, yes, 100%. No matter what happens, I know that everything is going to be okay. And in fact, we went to that interview, and we never felt like it was an interview. The guy was joking because my husband changed the haircut, and we were just talking. And at the end, he said, "Oh, and by the way, your visas has been approved." But we didn't know the time. We needed to wait. So we waited the 7 years the 7 days for the passports to arrive to know the amount of time. So therefore, we would know where we were going.
Hmm.
So
I can't. Oh my word. Is it not like God is like, I'm going to give you this much
yeah,
until, and then I'm going to give you like, that's just
yeah,
kind of how he does things, is because we
yeah,
have to walk by faith, because that's what he's
yeah.
wanting for us.
It is so hard. It's hard
Yes.
walking by faith. By faith,
Yes.
but
Wow.
it is. I would say that I used to be more a control freak kind of person. Like I love making plans. I don't like surprises.
Yeah, the lady
Like
who brings 2 passport pictures instead of the one that's needed. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this journey for sure show me that
Mm,
I am not in control. Like
mm.
and I don't need to be. So
Wow,
the
that's so
passports
great.
arrive. When I opened the passports, the visa was for 10 years. I was like, no, I don't have anything. And I start praying there, like, Lord, are you sure that
Wow.
this is the place that we need to go? Because we don't have anything there.
Wow.
And then the next day, I got a call from the person that I was offering me the job. He said, like, armed people came and stole stuff from the laboratory. And I was like, that's a coincidence. Because I told you, I'm more like Thomas when I want to be. So I'm like, that's a coincidence. I don't think, Lord, that's something that you want to tell me.
So you're still doubting at that point?
Yeah, I was still
Yeah.
doubting. My husband was up for the signs, but I was doubting. And then the next day, after I told God, I don't think that's a sign now, a sign. The guy called me again and he said, people came again and they stole something from all the cars that we have here in the center. And I went to my room. I remember going to my room and after that call, I didn't even tell my husband. I just went to my room and kneeled and I started praying. And during the praying process was that my husband found out why I was doing that. And I told God, like, okay, I'm in. Like, no
Mm.
doubt. I'm in. We are going to United States. So we had like 2 weeks to pack. So we didn't have much time because people start noticing that I was in Venezuela again. So they were
Mm.
asking questions. So we had 2 weeks to pack. We didn't tell the kids that we were coming to live. We told them we are going for vacations.
Mm.
And when we came here, because they were by that time they were 8 years, the twins, and Jesus was almost 11. So we didn't want to tell them because
Mhm.
if immigration before doing the paperwork they said we are coming to stay, might be a problem. So we were like, we don't want that
Right.
before showing all the paperwork that we have, and
Mhm,
that's a
mhm,
process that we needed
mhm.
to do. So we told them after we arrived here that we were staying, but we packed everything in 2 bags, and that was it. I gave away our clothes or toys or everything, and everything from the laboratory. I put it in one of the rooms of my house, and I left that there. We left houses, we left apartments, we left everything, and we came with 2 bags.
Mm.
We couldn't even bring our papers or paperwork, and that's why the issue with telling the kids, because we had to send that via the DHL, because if in Venezuela getting out they saw something that we wanted to escape, they would take us and they wouldn't let us escape. So that's why we didn't tell the kids, because
Right.
those
It
papers
it
was
had to
were
just be
coming. Yeah,
it had to just look like a vacation and
yeah,
be a vacation.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
And we came to this country with 1700 in the pocket. We didn't have much because in order for you to get like dollars and United States currency, you had to buy it in by black market.
Yeah.
It's-
Wow.
So we had just 1700 in the pockets. And after we, like, at the moment we arrived in immigration, the official told us how much you have in your pockets. What are you doing here? And one of the twin came and said, I have this. And he had just quarters.
Oh,
And he
sweet.
said,
That's so
I'm
sweet.
coming to see Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
And the guy was like, Aw, welcome to the United States. So we didn't have any issue coming in. We didn't have any problem. Um, we were looking. One of the our main concerns was we don't want to go and live with your cousin. I told my husband because we are 5 people. We are
Mm,
not just two. So I don't
mm,
want to impose. I don't want to
mm,
bother people. I don't like to be bothering and annoying people. I like to keep distance. I love people, but I don't like mm-mm, to impose and bring in 5 people. It was like that's too much. That's too
mm,
much for a family that doesn't have that obligation with us.
mhm,
So we arrived to Arkansas right in the middle of the line. We live in the corner between Arkansas and Oklahoma. So it
mhm,
was a small town.
How did you choose there?
mhm.
Because of my husband's cousin was
Okay.
living there. He was a
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
pastor there at
Okay.
that moment.
mm.
So he said,
Okay.
"Come here." Was the only people that we knew that we were close to, and we went there. And when we arrived, he had the surprise that one member of his church was moving to California, and
Mhm.
he left the house, and he needed somebody to take care of the house.
Wow.
And he talked about us, and the guy let the house for us to live in.
Wow.
Wow.
So at the moment we arrived, it was like one thing after another.
Mhm,
I was born in church, so I always knew God,
mhm,
and
mhm,
my dad is a preacher,
mhm.
so I was born at church. But here in this journey, giving up control,
Mm,
I've seen God
mhm,
more real
mhm,
than never. And we saw that like every time, one thing after another thing. And what is amazing is that my kids were witness of that too. So
mm,
even 2 weeks ago, I was talking with my firstborn, and we were talking about the things that recharge us.
mhm.
And he was saying, Mom, a good church service recharged me.
Wow.
Mm.
And he's an 18-year-old
Yeah,
old
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
But they're being witnessing God's power, God's
Mhm,
presence. So they always remind us, even though when dad and I forget about it, they always tell us like, Mom, let's pray. We should pray about it. So they are the mini us saying we
right,
should pray about it.
right.
And that's
Wow.
beautiful. That's just beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
Yeah.
came here. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious. I'm just thinking about, Chris and I just moved and downsized a lot, but not down to 2 suitcases. And I'm just curious, like, what has that been like? What are some of the positive things from that? But also, what have been some of the struggles of leaving? Because you left family, you left your country, you left position, right?
Mhm,
Um, uh, uh, being in a place where you were known, you left your career. In essence, coming here, you've left, your education is not like, right? It's not like you couldn't just step into the same role. here, and all of your things. Like I just like I'm just baffled by how much loss that is, and what was that like, or what is it still like for you? Um,
Um, I would say I always tell my fellow immigrants people, like the Venezuelans that I know that they have come to this country. I always tell them that the hardest part is your mind,
Mm.
your ego.
Mm.
The rest of that is nothing. But your ego thinking on what you had, what you were, what you
Mm.
did, and coming here when you're cleaning toilets or waitressing or doing another job that you weren't used to, or where you are treated the way that you weren't used to,
Mm.
because I found some racist people and I
Yeah.
dealt with that here. And I think that was the hardest part for me, the mind.
Mm.
I honestly, I never cared much about properties, money,
Mm.
or goods. I think that's not the main thing, or shouldn't be, or the main thing in our lives. Of course, if being has been like hard in some cases because there were times that we didn't have for gas or for food,
Right.
so it's hard. But at the same time, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't change anything,
Mm.
anything,
Mm.
So what you
because
said the hardest part is your mind, and I I I I I think what I'm understanding you to say is that it is still being able to know who you are, even though you're being treated very differently
Mhm.
and you're in a very different situation. Is that correct? Am I
Yeah,
right in saying that?
yeah,
So how have you done that? How do you do that? Like, how do you, because I ask this question because I know that every single one of us struggle with the lovely thing about, who am I? And
mm,
um and I can only imagine like the crisis that could um end up being on a person's soul and heart and mind to be be a completely different person, and then you come here and you're viewed differently, you're
Mhm.
treated differently,
Mhm.
and like you say, you go from a having a career to as was it microbiologist, is that what you said?
yeah. It was biochemistry,
A
but I
biochemistry, yeah. So a biochemist to cleaning toilets, right? Like the contrast is, so how have you dealt with that?
I would say I had two choices. I When I came here, I could blame God,
Mm.
Mm.
or I could just go to God, and I went to God,
Mm.
and that's a major swift switch in your mindset when you do that,
Mm.
Yeah.
because I learned
Incredible.
that before, my identity sadly was in the titles and the roles that I
Yeah.
had. And in here, I understood that my values and the things that cannot be taken from me
Yeah.
establish my identity.
Yeah.
So if I would say my identity relies in God,
Mm.
in my faith,
Mhm.
in honesty, respect, kindness,
Mm.
grace, because I
Mm.
know after living everything that I
Mm.
had and coming here, I know that those things, they cannot be taken from me.
Mm.
I had a good title, I had businesses, I had career, and those are not who I am. So I had to learn
Mm.
that my roles are not my identity. I'm a mom, and I always will be a mom. That cannot be taken from me.
Mm.
But being a professional in the health um, care side, I'm not doing that anymore. I
Yeah.
can be professional in every place I go, even though if it's cleaning toilets. So I I changed my mindset to do good in the place that I was on. If I
Mm.
was waitress, I would do it good. If I would clean toilets, I would do it good. Because my identity relies on that I'm good at what I do.
So it is
Mm.
your character that defines who you are, and your
Yes.
character is not something that anyone can take away from
Yes.
you.
Hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think, and I don't know where the verse is, but it's like everything you do, you're doing it to the
To
glory of
glorify God.
God.
Mhm.
You're not doing it to glorify yourself. You're not doing it for any other reason but to highlight who God is.
Mhm. And when you let that sink in
Yeah.
you, no matter if you have people treating you bad, because you know who you are, and you know that
Mm.
situation won't define you,
Mm-hmm.
and their issues won't define you because it's their issues.
Right.
But you have to know who you are, and the only way is checking up your values.
Yeah.
Checking those would tell you what is your character.
Mm-hmm.
What's your foundation in life.
Mm-hmm.
But like not the roles will define you, just your character. So you have to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up being this introvert kid, serious kid, and my mom would say like, "You're so serious. You're so grumpy. You don't like to deal with people." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't need to. Not with all." Because for her, in her mindset, is like, if you are family, you have the right to step in my life and do and
Mm-hmm.
say and whatever you want to say, even though it's not a good thing. And I was more mindful of who I allow in to get into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell my kids, like I was telling them like a few weeks ago, like, your life is your temple. It's a temple of God. So be mindful of the people that you let get
Mm-hmm.
in. Because even Jesus got upset when people were selling stuff and doing
Mm-hmm.
like disaster in the temple, because that was his temple. So you are his temple. You have to be mindful of the things that you let in your mind, in your heart. And that's key when you want to have your character fix it in Jesus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be mindful of that.
So, here on this podcast, we like to talk about the weeds and the joy, and joy in the weeds, and having, they don't have to be exclusive. Like, you
Mhm.
can have both at the same time. Were you able to find joy in this
Yeah,
process?
yeah, a lot of joy. I would like, we experienced so many miracles,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them was when we arrived 1 week after. It was a small town, so there was not like public transportation that you can get on to move around. And one brother from that church that my husband's cousin was taking care of, he came to us with a 1993 Taurus, Ford Taurus, and he said, "I don't have anything, but what I have, I give it to you." And he gave
Wow.
us a car,
Wow.
and that was amazing.
Yeah.
So in the middle of everything,
Mm-hmm.
we experienced so many miracles that
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
knew for sure that we weren't
Mhm.
alone.
Wow.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because one day, let me tell you that this one day we had to choose between 13 I had 13 dollars in my account. So we had to choose between the $13 for gas or using them for food.
Mm.
Mm.
But that was it. So we decided to use it for gas because 2 days after there was a food bank. But if I didn't have gas, I couldn't go to the food bank to get food. So we decided to go and get gas. And when we arrived to the gas station, I told my husband, let's put the gas on. And as soon as you see 12 in the screen, just take it off because I don't want to be overdraft and I don't want to pay overdraft fee because I don't have
Right.
the money. So
Right.
take it off. So he put it in the middle of that. One lady approached us and with her church English, we understood that she was in an emergency because she was living in a town like 1 hour away and she was going to another town to the other side 1 hour away because her daughter was in an accident and she just get off. She was even without shoes. She left the purse, she left everything because she got nervous when she got the call that her daughter was in an accident. So she left everything and she just took the car, but she didn't have gas to get there and she asked us for gas. So we were talking, and when we were talking, I heard that boom, the sound of the tank being filled. I was like, oh shoot, it went above 13 because it filled the tank. So the lady asked her for gas and I told my husband was let's give it a try. Let's pull her car. I would hold the pump here. I wouldn't put him back just in case. So let's try. So we moved our car. They moved her car, and we put gas on her tank, and it went full. Like it did the same sound, like ton when the tank is full. We put the pump back again, and the lady went off, and I kept looking in my statements for 3 months and I never found the gas transaction there. And we still had the $13 in the account. And that is not all. We did that. And next day we went to pick up the kids from school. And when we came back, we found in the door of the house that we were staying on like a whole grocery shopping thing, like from personal stuff like toothbrush and like body lotion to food snacks, like a lot of that. And we start wandering around like who brought this. We asked our neighbor. He always was sitting he was
Mm.
retired, so he always was sitting outside. We asked him like, did you see who brought this? He said he didn't see who brought that. And we were asking at church and we never found out who brought that grocery shopping that we have at home. So we never spend the $13. We fill our tank, we fill her tank, and we had food. So we knew that God was working like really hard
Unbelievable.
to show off, to show up, and to show off that we were being taken care from Him, by Him. And if we needed the assurance, He did show up several times, like several times. I cannot tell you how many times we had miracles, like miracles by God when we were needing most His presence.
Wow. Angela, your story is just so remarkable. I mean, it is. There are several things I want to take away, and Kim just chime in too. But first of all, you're right. God's the star of the story, no question, which is so incredibly powerful. But the idea that the character is what defines who we are,
Hmm.
and nothing else, not our position or our bank accounts or where we're from or whatever, but it is our character, and that's something that people can't take away from us. I think that's so important. And I say that not like, I know that maybe that sounds, well, duh, but I, I think day in and day out, all of us in some way or another are trying to figure out who we are, right? And just the little things and how we are interacting with people, and to remember that our character is right, like that is what defines who we are. So incredibly powerful. I'm gonna noodle on that a lot. It's one of those things I'm taking away. I want to noodle on. Yeah, but also just the joy of watching how God shows up in the most remarkable ways. And I'm sure that there were times you weren't sure if he was showing up as well. So I just encourage people, remember when he has shown up, and remember and have faith that he is there with you, even in times that are less obvious. But wow, absolutely beautiful. Kim, anything? I don't
Yeah,
I could go on forever, but
the thing that hit me was I can either blame God or go to God. That will now change everything in my brain. Not that I'm the type of person that blames God, but just that statement,
yeah.
go to him. Go to him. That just, boy,
Yeah.
if we would just do that,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would change everything for us.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
And
Angela.
talk about a life of faithfulness. I'm sorry. Angela, the life of faithfulness that you emulate, that we don't even, like, talking to you, I wouldn't know all this. I mean, you're telling stories of God's provision, like we hear of. I think the guy's George Mueller, who had in England, who had, like, he never prepared for anything. He just said God will provide, and then the children would pray, and there it was. Or the
Right.
stories of Adventist pioneers. They needed to, they didn't have the money to print the tract, and they were just like, we're just going to pray, and then the money is there. It's like, because somebody gets something in the mail. We think of those stories as being things that happened before, but they're happening now. And you are walking evidence of God's faithful provision because you are faithful to him.
Amen. Amen. I also just have to say this too. For anyone out there who ever has any interaction with someone who has joined us from another country, I'm thankful for your story. I hope that it encourages everyone to just be kinder. To just be kinder. To remember your character defines you. So how you treat the immigrant defines your character as well. And because
And they could be cleaning toilets and a whole lot smarter than you. Because I'll tell you, biochemistry, no thank you.
yeah, 100%. Be nice, be kind, be
Goodness.
generous. Yeah, remember we are all human beings.
Yeah.
God created human beings, and so treat each other accordingly. All right, we could keep going forever. I considered maybe we need to do like part 1, part 2, part 3, because I know you literally only like gave us a drip of your story. But wow, so powerful, Angela. But we need to go. So we always end the podcast asking the question, what is something in the last 24 hours that has brought you joy, laughter, or a smile? Kim, I'll let you go first, and then Angela, and then I'll finish up.
Okay. Okay, so really actually it's been simple things. In the last 24 hours, I've had a lot of very small, simple things that have brought me just joy. One of them is I am knitting a Victorian lace shawl, and I'm on the border of it, and you have to go around these corners. You got to go around these corners, and I am now over halfway done. So I've almost finished the border of it. Another was 5 minutes of cuddling with my husband before we got out of bed this morning, which was just so nice. And then this morning I went out to the garden, and we have a few strawberry plants, and I picked a handful of strawberries, and we had strawberries this morning for breakfast. And so it's just very, very simple things.
That's awesome. Angela, joy, laughter, or smile in the last 24 hours. What's brought you one?
I would say my husband's hugs. Like he's a big hugger. So I love that. I had such a hard week and busy week, and just this morning hugging him, it was just good. And my dog, he's a crazy guy, so he brings me so much joy.
So I don't know if you can see, but Tilly just came. Tilly just came over.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
Good conversations. I love good conversation. Oh, yeah. So I had yesterday a really, really good conversation with a friend. So it was like
That's neat. That's neat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. For me, if you guys are watching this, my hair is back and slicked back because I just got back from the gym literally moments ago. And I hope you get to meet. I have a guy that I'm working with. He's my trainer, and he's working with me at the gym. And I told him today I would love to have him come on the podcast because
cool idea.
Yeah, I just keep learning so much from him. But he is always so encouraging and just a delight. He's one of the most remarkable trainers. If anyone knows me, you know that this is so far out of my comfort zone. It's not even in the same stratosphere. But I love going every single day.
Wow.
And every single day I leave just so thankful. And primarily it is so thankful for Trevor and for his ability to make it something that is not only something I'm wanting to go back and do again, but it's joyful. But it is, don't get me wrong, it's hard. But yeah, it's remarkable. So anyway, I did invite him. So I hope you all get to meet him. But yeah, he brought me a great joy and smile this morning. So yeah. Cool. And I know that anyone who knows me is just shocked to death that working
I think it's great. I think it's great. You're going to feel like $1,000,000.
Well, I've only been doing it for 2 weeks now. But I'm telling you, it's a huge difference already. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
I literally, sorry, but I literally get emotional as I leave and I'm walking down the stairs. And it just comes from being so profoundly grateful for the opportunity. I think for much of my life, I didn't feel like I could fit it in. I'm sure I could have, but anyway, enough about that. Angela, what a joy.
So Angela, are you going to be at camp meeting?
Yes.
Okay, good. We have to get together.
Okay.
Because I want
Looking forward.
I want to know you more.
Yeah. Angela, thank you so very much. This is such a joy, and I know it is going to be life-changing for a lot of people to hear your story. So thank you for your willingness to share it, and most of all, thanks for being our friend. We really
Yes.
like you.
100%.
I love you, girls.
Hey, listen, I should have told you this before, but just stay on and we'll chit chat a little bit after we're done recording. So thank
Okay.
you so much. And if you guys are out there experiencing a lot of weeds, go and find some joy. And if you're in your moments of joy, this is for Kim. Be willing to face the weeds.
Thank you.
Is that well said, Kim?
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We would really love to hear from you. So please find us. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Joy in the Weeds. You can also email us. Our email address is joy@carolinasda.org. That's joy@carolinasda.org. Now, we hope that today, as you navigate the weeds, you will also hold on to moments of joy. This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.